Okay, this should be working. And stream health is weak. Great, great. Let me tweet this out. Streaming. Yeah. Okay. For some reason, I'm using OBS for this. I can't get it to be full screen anymore. And also, it's giving me that the stream health is weak even though I upgraded my connection speed with Spectrum. So this is annoying as hell. Let's see what I could do here. Preview scaling. Scale. I'm going to try this. What did that do? Did that do something? This is so stupid. I'm so pissed. Let's try this. Does this go? I don't want to scale it. Screw it. We'll just do it live. We'll do it like this. This is so annoying. I was using StreamYard before, and that was... Oh, let's try this. Hold on a second. Can I do that on this? Transform, fit to screen. This is terrible. This is terrible, and it's all blurry. Isn't this great? Isn't this the kind of content you came here to do? Just absolutely amazing. Okay, now it's not blurry at least. This is absolutely terrible. I just hate these black bars. They're bothering me. And they weren't there before. Alright. What should I do? I have this screen we can use to put some stuff there. This is pretty funny. And I know this is... Have you tried XSplit before? I have not. I don't know what that is. You look handsome no matter the screen size. Well, that's a lie. You're competing with the Very Failed Podcasters live stream right now, and it's a Michael Malice love fest, and it's heartwarming as fuck. Oh, that is very sweet. Oh, what a loser. And now it's blurry. I think we do that. It fixes it, supposedly. Welcome to Boomer Stream. I'm your boomer, Michael Malice. Alright. Wow. It will not focus. Focus, people. I'm right here. Let's see. At least you can still see the cheekbones. F it. Well, we'll do it live, goddammit. I'll write it. Yeah. Okay. So. This is so annoying. This is so... How do I get this camera to fix? I feel like every live stream I do has to start with 10 minutes of me being befuddled by the most basic technology, even though it looked fine the last time. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Because I wanted to show you guys some cool stuff I have. Is that going to do it? Alright. I feel like I'm a handheld or something. Why won't it hair looks 100%? Well, thank you. I just took a sure. Let me get my protein shake open. Okay. I'm going to do a little show and tell. I have to fix this fucking camera. Is it not doing autofocus? Let me try this. Properties. Okay. Configure video. Camera control. Does that do something? Let's try this. Oh, it's doing autofocus. Let's try that. There we go. It's a little better, right? No, it didn't do anything. It made it worse. It looks fine in here. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Properties. Configure video. Focus. Control. Focus. Good. That should work. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to giving you some things to be happy about. Then we're going to light this candle, which I can't believe we're doing. Okay. One of the things that is fun, how can I stay apolitical when my intense lefty coworkers take my silence as being right-wing and not risk losing my job? That's very easy. What you need to do is make the appropriate face noises and sounds to imply that you agree with them. Like when they start talking about Trump, you're like, ugh. Or, that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. And otherwise, they're going to be suspicious. Remember, they're jihadis. So that's how you got to approach it. They are not, this is them testing you for compliance. Compliance testing, it's a thing. All right. Okay, so one of the things when you're any kind of collector of anything is you pick up cool things along the way, and sometimes they're not as good as what you were looking for, but sometimes they are fun, and I want to show you a few items that bring me joy, and then we're going to light this candle. And let me just show you the candle first. I showed you guys in a previous stream. Now, this is the box, the big box of the candle. We're going to do that later. It'll be a fun little virtual hang. Okay. So, one of the rabbit holes I went down was shaving soaps, right? And all those. And if you go to Instagram.com/shaving soaps, those are mine. And I've gotten through like 200 of them, and they bring me joy every single day. I did a stream about those earlier. There are a few that I got friends along the way that really brighten my day, and I want to share those with you specifically, which I think I've shared some of those before, but not recently. So, here's a few of them. You will have heard of only one of these, even if you're into wet shaving, you've only have heard of one of these. So I really know what I'm doing with this regard. I am a big fan of things that are evocative of a time and a place. There is a line of fragrances which are not good, called Maison Margiela, but it's things like Paris 1979 or whatever. The scents don't match the names, so that's why I hate that line. But I love the concept, time and a place. This sold out in like a minute. This shaving soap. It sold out very, very quickly. Fortunately, I was on the right shaving board when someone put it up for sale, and I snagged it within 1 minute of him posting it. I was very disappointed. I think it was limited to 100 of them. I was very disappointed that he re-released it. So now I'm like, oh, this isn't really that special anymore. So this company is called Tallow and Steel. They're Canadian. And this one is called, it's a collaboration with Carve Shaving. It's called Morning Coffee in the Canadian Wilderness. And if you look at the picture, I think it's really, really cool. Let's see if we can get the camera to get a hold of that. Gave your newest book to my professor. He called you brilliant. Well, that's really cool of you, Nelson. Thank you. So the scent notes on this one are, I'll tell you right now, Tallow, Steel, Canadian Wilderness. The scent notes of this one are coffee, cedarwood, Douglas fir, birch, castor, which is beaver, musk, and vanilla. It's all natural essential oils. Um, and they had another one. How many this they released of this? Did they have a number? It doesn't say. They had another one which I've been looking for months called 150, which was released in honor of Canada's 150th anniversary, and it took me months, and I just scored one today, which is a sister to this one. Let me smell it. This is what it looks like before you use it. And it's very, very coffee, not coffee in like the coffee scent, but like ground coffee, you know, like that softer scent. Earthy. This doesn't tell me Canadian wilderness. I'm not getting the pine, though that might come out when you lather it. I am getting, it does smell like having a cup of coffee with a friend. So anything like that is really, chances RBG is replaced by the time the next Congress starts. My luck isn't great, but neither my predictions. My predictions on Breyer. It's been on Breyer for years. No one will see it coming. Or one of the other ones. The simulation is being too funny. RBG is the obvious answer. It's not going to be her. So this one really brings me a lot of joy. I haven't used it yet. I actually scored a second one to trade. Now this one really, I don't like it. This is Eileen's Bouquet. It's from a company called Cave Shave Works, which are kind of out of business, but they have a lot of stuff which I really liked. You could see the graphic design is not all that great. It's very basic, but the story with this shaving soap is the guy who invented the company, Eileen is his mom, and she passed away years ago, and she grew peonies, which are this flower, and he made a shaving soap that smells like peonies. It's very hard to make a floral shaving soap that I like. That's the other thing. I'll talk about that in a second. So, scent is so evocative, and it's associated often with the feminine, but shaving soaps are geared towards dudes. So if you've never thought in these terms, this is your chance to have an entire scent that affects your mood and personality and day, geared toward you. So there's so many options to choose from. You can tweet super chat me or tweet at me, and I'll give you options. But so it smells like it's a nice, soft, pleasant floral, not particularly feminine, but nothing special. But you know, the fact that he made this for mom just really kind of, I think, is really cool. Okay, this is another one which is really, really a cool story. Let me see which are the ones that are unique. Okay, this one has the story. So I got into this hobby, as I've discussed before, because my buddy Cole Stryker, who's even more of a hipster than me, I was staying at his place in LA one time when I was doing Rogan, and I asked for shaving cream, and he had this kind of smile on his face, and he busted out the Paraiso. And basically he taught me, I'd never heard of wet shaving before. My wife did your birth chart and wanted to know if you got her DM on Twitter. I did, and I thanked her for it. It was very, very cool and appreciated. Does she want me to post it on Locals? I'll be glad to do it, Eric. I didn't want to, reprint her work without her permission. Is there an update you can give on the new book? There's not. I have not been writing this week. Ooh, okay. There's two ways to write the new book, and I don't know which to do, and I'll ask about it. Remind me later. Only blah 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 0.0026% of U.S. police brutalities are lethal. Because of low fatality rate, I'm worried my support for cybersecurity is idealism based on anarchist theory rather than based on reality. What Nico's referring to is there was a tweet that someone said, like, how do you think, if everything collapses, give me one scenario where things could get better, but not based on a libertarian fantasy. Well, any scenario that's significantly different from the current status quo is going to be a fantasy in some sense, because doesn't happen. So it was a very kind of preemptive dismissal, and I did not engage. So I went to Cole, so Cole busted this out, Paraiso. This is like everyone's beginner wet shaving, because it's not, or like once you get a little bit serious about it, because it's European, it's like $5. This shit lasts forever. Like, you can't even make a dent in it, as you can see. It's a little medicinal, very old school. It's got a little bit of menthol. It's a lot of fun. So every time I look at this, I think of Cole and getting started in this hobby, and his baby, who's adorable. So it's a lot of fun for me, and I really, that means something to me. Okay. Next, we will have, okay, this other one. This is Yeti Snot. So when these lockdowns first started happening, this I think was in March, there was a guy on one of the shaving soap boards who started trying to sell his collection because he was like older, he was like in his 60s, and his wife had just gotten fired, and you could tell he was scared, and like he's making like $3 or $4 in each one, and I only looking for the rare stuff, and he's like trying to be like, oh, this is rare, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't know what it's going to be like to be in my 50s and lose my job and have the economy locking down and not having to work. And he sent me a photo of them. He's like, oh, you're from New York? I was there with my wife to see Billy Joel. And he sent a picture of them, and they look so sweet. And it's just like, you know, this poor woman is like, works, even if she's lazy, it's like, it's scary to be in your 50s and looking for a new job. Just like, imagine, like at the shelter, no one's hiring those old dogs, and it's really unfortunate. So what I did is like, all right, this guy shouldn't happen to be getting rid of a hobby that brings him joy, like it brings me joy. So I went on Twitter and I raised $200 and I just sent it to him. You know, just no strings attached. Go like have a moment of happiness. And one of the things I had bought from him was an aftershave I'd never heard of called Yeti Snot. That's the brand name. The thing with being a collector, and this is a problem I have whichever rabbit hole I go down, is there are often things that are high demand, low supply, and those are just a function of money, right? You're just gonna have to fork it out and buy it. Like Mammoth soaps, they're $80 each. You can find them. Like, do you want to drop $80 in a soap? Fine, you can find it. But the shit I like often, because I'm the weirdo, is things that are low demand and low supply. So it's some jackass made a soap of 100 of them. No one wants them, but you can't find them because no one kept them. And Yeti Snot was like that. So after I got the aftershave I'd never heard of from him, I got a bunch of mentholated stuff from him, aftershaves. It turns out they have a soap as well, and I found it. So I haven't used it yet. It's clear. It does look like snot, but having it's like, okay, you know what? We did a nice thing as a group, and it's just good exists in the world is something that's very hard to remember, but it's very important to remember, in my opinion. I'm going to try the focus thing again. Let's try this. This is bothering me. Okay. That's not better. What's the difference between anarchist and ANCAP? Well, an ANCAP is a school of anarchism. There are many non-capitalist schools of anarchism, and in fact, those were the first schools of anarchism. They would be anti-capitalist, although we would in contemporary terms refer them more as anti-corporatist, because they were against the idea of business and government combining to squeeze the little guy. So they have the right to the term first. I think I've discussed this in other shows, I think it's wrong and inaccurate for ANCAPs to laugh at ANCOMs for their use of the term, because we stole it from them. But I like all schools of anarchy. I like it all. I love Emma Goldman. I think she's a badass. Can you talk a little about what you liked most about Andrew Ridgeley's book? I'm a huge fan of 80s Britpop and haven't read it yet. Okay, so what he's referring to is on my locals, whenever I finish a book, I give it a little review. And I read a lot of books. If you want to see my ratings, if you go to goodreads.com, you can see them all here. And I just recently finished Andrew Ridgeley's book. Andrew Ridgeley's the other guy from Wham. And there's a song I absolutely love, which I think is the ultimate hipster song, called Andrew Ridgeley by a band called Black Box Recorder. The lyrics are great, the song's great. And what's great about this book, and I've read a lot of autobiographies, is it's honest, and he knows who he's dealing with and who he is. Who he's dealing with in terms of the audience. There's no, oh, I was growing up. There's no the years after Wham. He's like, I'm here to talk about Wham. So it's not even an autobiography, it's a memoir of his years of Wham. Right. He never is passive-aggressive about George Michael. He's never butthurt. He's like, look, George Michael was one of the great talents of my generation. It made sense he took over the songwriting. I knew he was going to go solo. And it's all about, like, it was a silly experience being in a boy band, you know, at that age. George is awesome. This is what it was like. And it was totally honest and self-aware. No butthurt. No excuses. No, he's like, yeah, You know, after Wham, I did a soul album. It went nowhere. So I know that the music business isn't for me. So when you read it, you're like, okay, this is someone who, if you were at a party, right, if you talk to someone who's like a has-been, you're like, is it weird? Like, how do you talk to him? He's like, yeah, I was the guy from Wham. It was a great thing. George Michael is one of the great talents of all time. The end. And so, not the end. So it's just like, yeah, this book is really honest and not trying to make himself out to be something he's not. So I really enjoyed it in that regard. And I love that era as well. Chad DVD collection versus Virgin old bookshelf. I'm a book person. I'm sorry. These are CDs, not even DVDs. Is it desirable and or possible for the right to use cancel culture to defeat the cathedral with the threat of mutual destruction? No, it would not be. They do not respond to threats. So the way to defeat the cathedral is to cause it have to have consequences. You have to punish bad behavior, reward good behavior. That's the only thing people who are not really operating in rational terms understand. So I don't want to say use cancel culture, but definitely you have to bring the pain. Otherwise they will never ever stop in any context by definition of the nature of the evangelical progressivism. I found your thread today defending Jo Jorgensen mind-opening. I get she's sincere. Do you have an idea of how or if to still go after the people behind, like that speech guy behind her pushing these flawed messages? I haven't gotten that far. And I don't know that I would do it publicly. Because when you go after people publicly, they can become martyrs, or they can dig in their heels because they want, in her case, her heels, because you want to defend your own people. This is not the kind of discussion that would make sense to have in public, because then it becomes a huge like WWF thing. I watched a couple of her videos. I find her very endearing. I think it's just pause for a second. I understand that there's a lot of people who are upset at what they see as the infection between libertarianism and the Libertarian Party, and they saw that one tweet of hers, and they're like, oh, this is the infection incarnate. She ran with Harry Browne as his vice presidential nominee in 1996. She was a member of the Libertarian Party since 1979. Go and watch. I put on my Twitter one of her clips, a 5-minute clip. You watch that, you are not going to perceive her as being a soft on this, basically Robert Nozick. She is the real deal ideologically. She was saying the things that needed to be said. I have a lot of affection, and I feel defensive of people who are older than me, who had to take those punches so I could get to where I am today. When you, in 1979, are a member of the Libertarian Party and are campaigning for it, you are socially going to be a freak and a loser. That's still the case in many regards today, but much more so then when people didn't know what the hell this was. And for her to do this as a woman in that era, must have been a real outlier. You watch her videos, she's clearly a dork. I will always have sympathies for the well-meaning dorks. I do think she very, very, very sincerely wants more people to be free, and is on a very fundamental level understands the nature of the state, the nature of the warfare machine, and is thoroughly opposed to it. Maybe she's not red-pilled as to the nature of the cathedral. That's fine. But given everything else, you take the context, I am not going after someone who's a nice older woman who had a couple of tweets or a couple of wrong ideas when they've put in the work. Not doing it. So that's my 2 cents on that. Do you enjoy musky soap scents? Which is your favorite? I do, to a point. If you go to my shaving soaps Instagram, you can see the weekly ones, and you'll see the ones that rotate. I post every week the ones I do. Would you describe yourself as an ANCAP? I would not. I just call myself an anarchist without adjectives. Okay. So let me show you some of the other soaps I have before we get to this candle. I hope you guys are having fun hanging out. So this is a cool one. This I really, really like. This is the only one on earth. So Katie's Bubbles is a great company. They're out of Jersey. They're vegan, which I really don't like usually with shaving soaps. The principle of veganism, but also it's harder to get a good lather and everything like that. they made this fragrance a few years ago, Honey Noir. I was looking for it for a long time, couldn't find it. I DM'd them, I go, hey, are you ever going to bring back Honey Noir? And the guy said, I'll bring it back in like December if there's interest. Email him again, you're bringing it back. He goes, give me a few months, email him again. And he goes, no one wants it, but I promised you I'd make you one, so I'm going to make you one. And I go, you didn't promise me anything. He goes, no, I'm going to make you one. So he made one for me in their new base, which is much better than their old base. Every soap has a base, and then you have add a fragrance to it. And this is the only one on earth, and I was very worried. You asked about musky scents, because I'm like, the guy custom makes one for me. What if I don't like it? And honey is a hard scent to pull off, because often it's like overwhelming and cloying. This is a musky honey. It's quite unique, and I really enjoy the scent. And also the fact that, this was made for me, it's made with love, it's really makes my day to use it. I've only used it once so far. Will Republican Dave Smith someday run for president? I don't think it would be impossible for him to do that as a member of the LP. And I think he would actually get some traction. What is your everyday brush? I have 10 brushes. I have, and I go through them. I think there's a picture on my Instagram. I know there's a picture on my Instagram. I'm waiting for my one last brush, which looks like a thing of beer. What do you call that thing of beer? Not a glass. I'm totally blanking. Well, that's your Alzheimer's for you. Okay. Liter. I don't think that's what I was looking for, though. Pint. It's a pint. That's a Britishism. Okay, here are the last three. And then we're going to get to the candle. This is really, really, really cool. Okay? So, I am not a particular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. Not at all. When you go down a rabbit hole, like sometimes you'll see something like, how have I never heard of this? And then you gotta... So I was watching some of the time these soaps come out, you have no way of knowing what they smell like from the scent notes. And you're like, am I going to like this? So there's a lot of people who go and they have YouTube channels where they just shave with different soaps and they review them. A lot of them are excruciating. Because these are dudes who are like, oh man, this smells so good. That's not information. I need to know what it smells like. Use your words. Describe it as best you can. Language is hard for scent. I get it. But smells good or I like this is not of use to me. So there's one guy, and he had a whole display behind him. He does it. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. And I'm looking at one of the labels, and I'm like, I don't recognize that label. And for me at this point, not to recognize a label of shaving soap is art. And I'm looking, and I'm like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm like, when will Michael Malice come to Brazil to give some talks? Oh, I would love to. I would love to. You guys fly me out there, I would be there in a heartbeat. I got a crew in Brazil. Oh, yeah. That's an easy one. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, because why would you have a children's shaving soap? I'm like, okay, maybe it's a thing for kids. I start Googling around online, I can't find it. It doesn't exist. And I'm like, all right, this shall not stand. And I go looking at his videos, and one company made 5. They couldn't make them legally, because that's copyright. So they made one for him for his birthday, and they kept the other 4. Well, the guy, it's called First Line Shave, is the company. And that's the one company I don't try out because they are a cop company. It's to support cops, so I can't ethically use their product. And the guy who does their graphic design and I had been DMing. And I said, hey, can you get me one of these? And he goes, yeah, I have one. I go, wait a minute. He's like, you could have it. I go, wait, I can't take your only one. He goes, I don't care. I don't like it. Like, it's not that I don't like it. He goes, this doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I'll be glad to give it to you. So I gave him in exchange a page from my manuscript from the new Right, Everyone's Unique. And he sent me this. So it's really, really cool. It's a nice little musky scent, but the fact that it's illegal, and there's only like 4 or 5 made, and I managed to score it within a day, that was really exciting for me. So that's that. Okay. How to get human rights to North Korea. Nukes now prevent intervention, but Kim and party are last in line to feel effects of sanction. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know at all. This has been a struggle of mine for many years now. I don't know. I'll try whatever I can. Nothing has worked. Everything's worth a shot, is in my view. I do not have any. If I had that answer, you'd be hearing it on my Twitter like on a daily basis. I promise. What advice can you give me to break out of my shell and be more outspoken in my opinions as a shy person? I will be talking about that in my next book. My advice to you would be, do not be more outspoken in your opinions. No one cares about your opinions. It took me a long time to be outspoken on my opinions, and I only did that after I had an audience, not before. So being a shy person is very different. So how to engage with other human beings is like this, and I'll tell you this story. Let me answer the next super chat, then I'll get to you. You should do a Renegade University course in anarchism. I don't know enough about like Bakunin and some of the other ones to really do that. I'll just be a bit of a dilettante. You'd need a left anarchist to kind of cover my tracks on that regard. Kropotkin is the other one. Actually, this is a long story, so I don't want to get into it. I'll save my book. But the point being, you've watched me on TV. You're watching me here. Lots of times I'll say I'll pause earlier in this episode, whatever you want to call it. I had tech issues, lost my train of thought. You didn't sit there and think, oh my God, what a moron. I was laughing. I'm like, okay, I'm messing up. No one cares. So there's this expression in AA, which my friend taught me, that I'm the thing of, scratch that. When you're at a party, you have this simultaneous feeling that you're invisible and everyone is staring at you. They can't both be true. So once you realize how little people care about you, and that if people laugh at you, it's fine, it's not your parents, that will go a long way. But this is a long process. Okay, sorry. I'm reading The True History of the American Revolution by Sidney George Fisher, recommended in your talk with Moldbug. Suggestions on what to read next for different American history perspectives. Yes. Read An Honorable Defeat and a Government of Our Own, which was a great book about the South's perspective, not in a pro-slavery perspective, but like what their thinking was and what it was like in 1865. A People's History of the United States, or a History of the American People, sorry, by Paul Johnson, is another great one. And go back and read as many of the original sources as you can. That's my big advice. Go and read the books from like 1905. They might be tough, but they're going to be eye-opening and informative. I got to figure out how to fix the blurriness. There's got to be a way to... It really is bothering me. I'm not going to lie. Okay. Okay, so here we go. I find it funny that boomer cons are laughing and saying our cities are getting what they deserve by voting Democrat when Republicans don't run. Yeah, this is a lot of times, like, they're subtle for some of them. Don't flip out on me. For some people, this is their perspective on abortion subtly. They'll be like, well, you know, like, shouldn't have fucked. You know, now you're getting what you paid for. It's like, a child isn't a punishment. And I know that they would say the child's getting hurt, blah, blah, and that's correct from their perspective. But if you hear how they say it, they're kind of like, well, you did a bad thing, and now too bad. And I'm of the mindset that, like, you know what? I would rather someone do a bad thing and not have consequences. Not if they're going to do it again, but it's like, you know what? Like, if you were driving drunk and you avoided a car accident, but you still had the fear and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this again. I would prefer that to the car accident where you, like, break an arm. And it's like, I don't think that by flicking the wrong switch once a year, you should be like, well, what do you expect? Not to have people kill you in your neighborhood? Yeah, I don't think, like, your sanctity of life should depend on whether a lot of people around you flick the wrong switch once a year, every other year. That is really disturbing and collectivist thinking and socialist thinking. Thoughts on Suki Kim's undercover work in North Korea? I read her book. I forgot what I said on Goodreads. Um, I disagree with some parts of it, but yeah, I don't really have anything particularly insightful. I'm sorry. Do you enjoy? I've got nothing to say. Just enjoying the podcast. Thank you, Matt. Um, do you enjoy going to amusement theme parks and riding the rides? I don't. I really don't. They're often too crowded. I would like it when they're more like a little like trashy and like kitschy a little bit. There's one Nellie Bly here in Brooklyn. I think it's closed now, but Screaming Kids is not fun for me. Coney, I like the idea. I hate like the Disney idea. Like I hate it. Like I just absolutely hate it. Okay, so let's get to. There's two more soaps, and these are really fun. Okay. These are so there were a few soaps that I was looking for a long time, and I managed to find them both within a day of each other after looking for over a year. So there's a company called Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. They also have a line called Crown King. I don't know about the relationship. There's some real drama with this company. Like some online merchants won't carry them because apparently there's like a guy who runs it who had a fake account and was like pretending he's a veteran. He's not. I don't know all the gossip. It's just this whole big thing. They made a couple of scents that are really weird, which of course speaks to me. And a lot of times these weird things they're not good. It's like a novelty. You're like, why do I have this? There are two, and I found one of the two. One of them, this is one of them. It's called Freshly Baked, and it's supposed to smell like baked bread. And I gotta tell you, when I got it, I haven't lathered it yet. It does give you that yeasty. It doesn't smell like fresh baked. It smells like dough. And I'm so happy I found this. And a lot of these soaps come with an aftershave set if you like. I bought this. They threw in the aftershave. I didn't realize I was getting it. So this was like, took me a year to find, and I'm really, really excited I found it. And I just also only recently figured out how to lather this brand effectively because it was a problem before, and I was getting bad shaves out of it. This is the one that I was the most excited about. This also took me over a year to find. This company no longer exists. L&L Grooming is now called Declaration Grooming. Declaration Grooming is one of like the big names in the scene. And Final Frontier, and you can see how I hate the name because I hate Star Trek, but you can see how it speaks to my language of the outliers because it says beef, gunpowder, and brake pads. So online it's been described as smelling like roast beef. Other people have said they're trying to replicate the smell of space. We know from astronauts that apparently space smells like burnt popcorn. They came out with a fragrance recently that smells like that. And I managed to and there were very few of these made, and no one had them. And the ones who did weren't giving them up. And I scored it. It does smell industrial. There's one that's called Gearhead, which took me a long time to find. And that smells like duct tape, which sounds more interesting than it is. Because it's like, oh, okay. This is like a very mundane, not pleasant, but not unpleasant either scent. Will we have another gin tasting live stream? No way. So this I was so stoked to get. Fun Frontier. So that's my soaps that give me joy, especially. Like these are like, they're not even the best ones in terms of use, but those are the ones when I look at them where I'm like, they make my day. Read both your books, always bring up North Korea, and then you write with friends now. Checking out Arthur Herman and Camus because of you, thanks. How's the White Pill book going? 20% the way in. Don't bother with The Myth of Sisyphus. I reread it recently. It's not what I remembered. So maybe try The Rebel, and maybe try Resistance, Rebellion, and Death. But The Myth of Sisyphus is not the book I remembered it was. And I'm now going to write the book that it should have been, or what I remembered it being. Okay, here we go. So, $500 candle. Hot stuff. Last biography you read. I'm currently reading a biography of Timothy Leary. If you go to my Goodreads, you can see all the books I read. We should have listened to Yuri Bezmenov. Okay, so this was a collab between Joya and Arsham Studio. Joy is my buddy Frederick Bouchardy. I told him he's a perfumer. He's been on You're Welcome. When I told him I was going down the scented candle rabbit hole, is it too late? It's never too late. It's not. This is America. It's not too late. You're telling me Mika Brzezinski is an unstoppable enemy? Are you crazy? Like, think about it. Please. So he teamed up with this Arsham Studio. I have no idea who they are, and God forbid I do any homework before I do one of these shit streams. And when I told him I'm going down this rabbit hole, he brought me a bunch of. He's like, "Oh, I got something for you." And I thought he was gonna give me like 50 candles. He brought me 3. One of them is this. This goes for $500, and it actually clears the market at $500. It's not like, you just this soap's $5,000, and people actually pay $500 for this. And my ethics will not let me sell it because it was a gift. Michael, I want to dig into leftist literature for research purposes. Should I start with White Fragility, Zins? What do you recommend? Those are both great starting points. And what I would also suggest you do is look at their footnotes and follow the trail. Also, Edward Bernays, Propaganda, and Walter Lippmann, Public Opinion. I forget if I'm getting those 2 titles confused. Those are 2 other good ones to look at. But there's many different schools of leftism. So this is, you could see, it has the contents. The many want safety and the few want freedom. Because anarchy is 100% freedom, logically it only caters to few. Even in unsafe failed states, people want new ones. No real modern safe anarchy to break inertia. People don't want new states, they want safety, and they think that's what the state will provide them. So, but you're right. I mean, yes, I agree with you broadly speaking. So, I can't believe I'm doing this, but here we are. So, it comes with gloves, which I'm going to put on my freakishly small hands, which match my even freakishly smaller genitals. Look at me, I'm Mickey Mouse! Kumia said New York City is a hellhole since he came back to studio this week. No cop around, business is boarded up, not coming back anytime soon. Is this true? Anthony was been in his house for months. It is so much better than it was. It was so bad. First of all, New York's been hellhole in terms of crime, whatever, in my lifetime, much worse. But in terms of not having people and it feeling unsafe, that's not the perspective I got at all. Okay, so we got this. Then we got this top. So here's what it is. It comes with Arsham Studio. It comes with the sculpture of the moon. The moon is made of things that the earth doesn't want. Okay. I have to leave the gloves on, right? Okay. It has the scent canister. Notes: fig leaf, coconut milk, cut grass, cyclamen, and jasmine. I don't like any of those. I know what those... Coconut, no. Cyclamen, I'm not sure what that is, but the other 4 I do not like. That's okay. And it has a wick. 2 wicks. And you put it in the candle. Okay. The gloves are not making this easier, I gotta tell you. I think I should send Jo Jorgensen some money, because I feel for her. I think it's important to recognize people who've trod the path for you. Okay. Wait, is there instructions? Fuck, what do I do? This is number 171 out of 500, by the way. Oh, instructions. Please handle with care and display once complete. Place base on temperature-safe surface. Insert and align 1 wick to axial center of vessel. Pour specimen from fill container chamber into base until it is entirely full and ensure an even distribution. Okay. Okay, let's do that. Guys, I'm scared. Ugh, okay. It smells nice. It smells green. Okay. But they want me to put it while it's there. Well, I should. Well, you can't see it then. Hold on. Let me try this. Okay, so they're little. Okay. It's little beads that are white, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Oh, it's stuck. Oh, there's a lot more in here. God damn it. What do I do? Things I do for you people. There's a lot more in here. I'm not going to use it all. Like a lot more. It's not going to... Okay. So, I'm breaking the rules. Hey, Michael, it's my birthday. Oh, happy birthday. That's very cool. I just watched the Walter Mercado documentary on Netflix. It's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend. It has brought me a lot of joy today. Still tearing up 1 hour later. Good. I want you to be happy on your birthday. It was my birthday on Sunday, and I had a great time. And we should be kinder to ourselves. So thank you. And I'm really glad you had a good day. That's wonderful. That's a gift for me. That you had joy. Ignite wick, allow combustion for 60 to 180 minutes in single session. Keep away from air currents. Allow specimen to be cooled for transporting. Trim wick. Once the wick is fully consumed, clean the vessel and repeat the steps. Archive the exoplanet with lid on. Process complete. So the specimen has 175 milliliters, and they want 100. They want 175 grams, whatever. Okay, we're gonna do this now. Okay, here's the. I'm gonna put the lid back on. It's not my birthday. My birthday was Sunday. Well, thank you, Frank. That's really cool of you, though. Okay. Let's get the candle thing. You got this, Ted Kaczynski. I'm going to eat my cake and have it too. My birthday cake. Because the cops union, we're powerless when they give up. Wouldn't private militaries abandon their posts too, like Machiavelli says? Not necessarily. People are motivated by different things. If those private security are guarding their own neighborhoods, that would be a very big difference. Nice haircut. Was the lockdown lifted, or are you wanted by the man? The lockdown's been lifted a long time ago, and I had my hair cut while I was doing the show at the studio. Belated birthday. Well, thank you, Frank. That's very, really sweet of you. I really had a lot of love on my birthday, and it was appreciated. And what I got for myself, Sean Chow, who I discussed the last time I was on Rogan, who's a diorama artist, I asked him if he would recreate the cover of Ego and Hubris, my biography, as a diorama, and he agreed to do it, and not for very much money either. And then people were donating to contribute toward that, so that's happening. I don't know when it's going to happen. And if that comes out well, then I'm going to have him recreate my old aquarium as a diorama, so I'll have it in perpetuity. The Come Hang strings have been great lately. Thanks, Michael. Thank you. I have a lot of fun doing them. Okay, here we go. Here's the exoplanet. I think the wick's too long. I'm gonna put some more beads around the wick. Burn. All right, it's lit. This stream is officially lit. I'm gonna take the gloves off before I pick it up. As you can see, I hope. Can you see it? The wick's burning pretty quick. More important, order or liberty? Come the fuck out of here, come on. Who are you talking to? Why are you bothering with these stupid questions? Ooh, Smells nice. I wonder if Freddie will. What am I gonna do with this when it's done? Well, I guess it's ethical to sell it then, right? The sculpture. I don't know. I'll ask Freddie what he thinks. Happy belated birthday as well. Hope the build a candle's living up to the hype. It's the wick has flipped over like it needs Blue Chew. It does smell very green. It smells like outdoors, which I'm surprised at given what this candle is. I'm gonna take a picture of what it looks like and put it on my Insta. Hold on a second, guys. Just gonna do this. Do you think I should DM Jeb Bush and ask? I'm gonna DM Jeb Bush and ask him to do an episode of You're Welcome, and I would be very, very respectful. Yeah, the wick is burning very quickly, and it's kind of wilted. I don't want it to look bad with the wilted wick. Done. Were you mad? Why were you mad seeing cops at the compound yesterday? Okay. So the way the studio's set up is I'm sitting here. There's the camera with the teleprompter. Here is the producers with the glass window. Sometimes I'll talk to them, but here's my camera. I gotta talk to this. There's a monitor to my upper right. Sometimes, this hasn't happened for many months, people will be there, they're guests for another show, and they'll go into the control room and they'll just stand there staring at me. Staring. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, who the fuck are you and why are you staring at me? Like, I get that it's a show, but I'm not Harambe. Fuck. And that stopped because we weren't allowed to have any guests during the lockdown. Now we started going to the studio again. And we had an email went out that says no more guests for anyone. We're having serious precautions, blah, blah, blah. This wick is like really burning itself out very quickly. Okay. And again it happened. First the guy was staring at the control room. Okay. Then he went and started staring through the door. Who the fuck are you? And I asked them, I'm like, why are they even here? He's like, oh yeah, they're cops. Cops? The fuck are I do not talk to police if I can help it. So I was very upset that A, this guy shouldn't have been there to begin with, and second of all, I gotta sit there and perform for the police. No, thank you. Okay. Be careful not to accidentally set the candles down in the shape of a pentagram. That ship has sailed. Let me tell you about... This is weird. It's burning weird. Okay, let me tell you about this book. The book thing I'm giving. So I'm having a situation with writing the book, and I don't know what to do. So the book's The White Pill, and this is being weird. Happy belated birthday. Would love to meet you if you're ever in Vancouver. Well, that's not going to happen. Have you ever seen the 1984 lecture by Yuri Bezhnemov about ideological subversion? If so, what stage do you reckon we're in today? I haven't seen it. I'm familiar with it, and I think he exaggerates how much power the Soviets have with the U.S. The Soviet Union didn't make Woodrow Wilson. The Soviet Union didn't make the London School of Economics. The Soviet Union didn't make the New School for Social Research. I don't think it's basically externalizing people who think everything's the CIA to everything is the KGB. I don't buy it. So here's the problem I'm having with the book. At first, I was writing it in terms of techniques to maintain happiness and hope. And I'm like, okay, people don't know this. Then I'm like, wait a minute. My MO is, if your work brings me a lot of joy, I just wanted to say thanks. You are thankful. My thinking is, if I know something and if I talk about it and people who are in my audience are not familiar with it and want to know more, that is information that is good to have in a book, like by definition almost. It's not very perceptive of me. And one of the things I talk about a fair amount that is frequent in my thoughts, which does not mean common knowledge, is how malevolent American culture was like in the 30s. And just how bad it was and how bad it could have been. And every time I hear these boomer cons talk about the press used to be honest, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking. Like, it is not historically possible to say this. And it's also the kind of, well, Hollywood used to be, and they also know that Reagan met Nancy Reagan because he was head of the Screen Actors Guild, or maybe not at the same time, but he was there to try to root out literal communists who were taking orders directly from Stalin to try to overthrow the government. Like, oh, Hollywood used to be, like, who do you think was, what are you talking about? Really enjoyed the Dennis Miller segment, knocked it out of the park, good takes, man. FYI, I own a couple of Pizza Hut restaurants in Albuquerque if you ever want to fly in for a bite. I used to have Pizza Hut in the summer, upstate, and that was like a real treat for me, so that does have some childhood memories in a positive way. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not being ironic. Have you read Kill All Normies? I have not. Or seen That Feel When No Girlfriend documentary? I have not. Thoughts on these honest but flawed lefty attempts to understand 4chan of the new right? I haven't. I haven't seen them, and I have no real interest in seeing them. These streams are really helping me hold on to a little hope, as are the Dave Smith crossovers. Would love to see a stream with you two on 2A, as your perspectives are more interesting than most. I don't know that I have anything particularly insightful to say about 2A, other than the stuff I've been tweeting about. Obviously, I'm a very... You could look at my article, The Case for Mandatory Gun Ownership. I think that might be of utility to you. Okay. Oh, they really melt quickly and make kind of like soup. Okay. I'm going to take another picture. The other one was bad before. So then I realized, okay, here's what I got to do. I'm going to have the first book. The problem is I'm enough of an Ayn Rand person that I think things need to have integrity, by which I mean all the parts should interrelate. And then I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about one of the ways to have hope is to have context, right? If all the restaurants are closed today and you're hungry, and then you realize, wait a minute, a year ago I was homeless. I was literally eating garbage. All of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm hungry today. I can't get food. It's fine, right? A lot of times we do that in a bad way. We tell ourselves, oh, well, my dad was never drunk and raped me, so it wasn't abuse. That's not accurate. You're entitled to your pain. So one of the ways to point out why we should be hopeful is, by contrast, pointing out how bad things were. So I often complain, is there any hope of you and Dave extending the crossover even when the studios reopens? They are always so great. Yes, it's not at all implausible, and also the numbers are good. And I adore him, and we have great combos. So now I was writing about, just how bad things were back in the day here and in Russia, and how what we were being told about Russia, because even I forget how depraved Stalinism was on many levels. The gulags, the genocide, and the purge, those are the three things. And then having reporters from the same outlets, the New Republic, the New York Times, the New Yorker, telling people we need to have this here. And you don't know what you're talking about. One of the things I've often complained, maybe those are the three parts, as I'm talking to myself. one of the things I complain about is how conservatives never talk about the winning the Cold War and what a great accomplishment this was. This was conservatism victory. This was Reagan and Thatcher, and to some extent Pope John Paul, taking down peacefully the most, and liberating half the world. This should be discussed every 5 minutes. They should make us. We hear more about Martin Luther King. Oh, I gotta tweet this out right now. Ooh. This is a nuke. Ooh. Oh, this is a good one. Good. So, let me see if I... Do you think we would ever get Dave Smith or Michael Malice Ben Shapiro conversation? I think that's almost a certainty. Distrust. I don't know that I'm on his radar screen. I'm sure Ruben would make that happen. Dave might be a little different because he talks about Israel a lot. And Ben would probably think Dave's beneath him to some extent, if I had to guess. But I don't think it's at all unlikely. I think it's almost certain that will happen at some point. And we're going to start on Mignon. Future and Enlightenment were my white pills. Oh, okay. That's cool. Have you ever thought of moving to the suburbs? If so, why not? I guess we don't really have suburbs here in New York, and it would be the worst of all worlds, I think. It would be no stimulation, but also expensive. So then, one of the things I always complain about is that conservatives don't talk about the Cold War and what it meant and what a great victory this was, and how glorious it was that all these countries, one after another, were freed, often by left-wing governments. I mean, Solidarity in Poland weren't Republicans; they were lefties, but they were pro-democracy, pro-freedom lefties. And I thought to myself, shit, if they're not doing it, I have to do it. I have to talk about how great this was. But now I'm having problems thinking about, okay, if part one is the 30s and part two is the late 80s, I guess part three would be, well, none of it matters, this is how to become happy. I don't like how those three things fit together. And now I'm like, should I just do part one and two? But then it doesn't have the self-help stuff, which I think is so useful and needed. So that's where I am right now. Another story from the 30s is the Spanish Civil War. The Republicans were not simply the good guys. Franco was not simply the bad guy. There's a website with 60 pages of priests and nuns killed by the Spanish communists. That's not the direction I'm going at all. I'm trying to keep this as binary as possible. And the binary is, here's what Stalin did, and here's what the people that you still listen to said about him. They have to be held accountable for the blood on their hands. And we beat them, and we'll beat them again. There are 3 Michael Malice on Parler. Which one? None of them. I'm not on Parler. I have an account, but I don't use it. This is cool, this candle, how it's burning. It's making a little pool of liquid. Okay, so that is my stuff. Now we're caught up. Part 3 could be outlooks on the future. I already have 3 parts. My question is part 3, the self-help stuff, is that going to be too hard to integrate with the other 2? And then am I just going to write a history book? Then is it really the white pill? So I'm struggling. So I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. The idea of part 2 only came to me recently. I'm like, well, you're always complaining about this. Fucking do something about it. I'm like, yeah, I gotta. Is in New York City, homeless and rich walk the same street, ride the subway? That's not in my home. all poor far more geographically segregated, which is preferable. Preferable for whom? I guess you would depend. The rich people don't ride the subway here, and they don't walk the same streets. It's not this. It's not like you think. Part 3 is post Cold War self help. Without the Cold War framework, people feel rudderless, nothing to find themselves against. My point is to be apolitical and to be distanced from politics. And that if you're the kind of person who thinks I can't be happy because Donald Trump is president, something's wrong with you. It's not Donald Trump. Even if everything you believed about Donald Trump are true. And if he is this other Hitler, you definitely should leave the country and find happiness. There's many other places you can still find it. Okay. I guess that's all I really wanted to do. I just wanted to give you guys a little hang. Let me share the candle again. It's a very clean scent, very green, pretty nuanced, subtle. Does not like one of those perfumey scents that you get a headache. Michaela Peterson looking for guests for her podcast, and I dropped your name. Would you be interested? White pill discussion, perhaps. Wednesday. She also, I think her 4th episode was with my bro friend, Chris Williamson, so that was kind of fun. So that's going to be awesome. And let me show the lid of the candle again. So this is the lid. Huh. I hope you guys are all part of Locals, by the way. We're really having a lot of fun over there. I certainly am. Gotta figure out this book. I just love having content. To me, when you read a book and it's just content, and hits you in every page, it's so exciting and exhilarating about, like, hell yeah. Like, it just motivates you in real life. So that's what I'm going for. And it's so much easier not having to deal with the publisher. So much easier. Let me just check something quick. Okay. I guess your struggle is the answer. We're all feeling it. Self-worth, self-identification. We've forgotten ourselves. We're on groupthink. Helping yourself helps the world. You got this. Yeah, I got this isn't the concern. It's just, what is this? Like, what is it going to look like? And I guess I'm going to take my own fucking advice and just keep writing. And these things kind of click into place psychologically. All right. We're done with the protein shake. Today's rest day. I hope you really, guys, if you're dudes out there, like, little rituals are a great way to help your mental health. It keeps you grounded. It's something to, when you are not in a good place and your brain starts working overtime, it's a good way to divest that mental energy. Cesar Millan is a great tool to understand human beings and the self, because he talks about, this is not unique to him, of course. Dogs, when they have nothing to do with their energy, become destructive, and that's the same thing with people. The problem is, if that energy goes toward video games, where you're ostensibly solving goals, as soon as you leave that game world, you're like, shit, I wasted today. Whereas I gave myself, this is, I guess, the Jordan Peterson thing of make your bed. If you go, like, oh, this is my hobby, I'm learning a lot about shaving, at least you're interesting, you have something to talk about, even if it's nerdy or aspy. But it's also like, okay, I have a project. Did you enjoy Halloween as a kid? And if so, what was your favorite costume? I was pretty sheltered as a kid, so I never got to go trick-or-treating. I had a little king costume once that we had for Purim, which is Jewish Halloween. That was the only costume I really had. We were also pretty poor. One thing that really, or didn't have money, I don't know that we were poor. One thing that really enraged me as a kid, like a lot, was there'd be like a Skeletor costume and his face would be on his chest. And I'm like, why is Skeletor dressing as himself? It still bothers me, like, a lot. The self-help could be found in the relative bloodlessness of the liberalization revolutions in the Iron Curtain countries. That's not self-help though. I'm talking about actual techniques like how to work a room, how to deal with anxiety, how to have a positive perspective, how to fight cynicism. Um, so I got to figure out how to mix these things together, if at all possible. Because I've started writing both parts. I started as only the self help part, then I realized shit. I gotta have all this boomercon nonsense. I gotta put a stake through its heart once and for all. I feel like this is the kind of what I really like about this book already is this is the kind of thing where I know if this was me when I was younger and I was interested in this broad space, I'd be telling people you got to read this. Because again, if there's stuff that Tom Woods doesn't know, and if none of my colleagues in politics know, political commentary know, then it's not known in Gen Pop. So to bring it all together is really going to be like holy shit, like really revelatory. The things these people pulled is so it's so evil. It's just evil, evil, evil stuff. This isn't, again, I talk about it all the time. It's not bias. It's not like, oh, they use a flattering picture of the Democratic candidate, and when it's the Republican candidate, they use a mean picture. Who cares? I mean, that's not right, but that is such a non-issue comparing to people who are being tortured and American comedians signing letters defending this and saying this is great and running interference for it. Like we don't even can't even imagine this, and it's the same shit as today. It wasn't on Twitter, but it was in the newspapers. It was the same shit. Ugh, just awful people. Okay, I hope this was fun for you folks. I hope you all had a Mike. I hope you had a Michael. I hope you had a good birthday. I certainly did have a great. When you get older, your birthday means less and less unless it's a big one. I still haven't gotten my Fabuland stuff from Germany, so I'm really pissed. But yeah. One more thing. Let me just get some more Kool-Aid. My goal is to have my office set up so well that I basically never have to get up and I could just shit my pants. I'm going to slide into Jeb Bush's DMs and ask him to do an interview. You might like the movie Mr. Jones about the New York Times coverage of Stalin. That movie was written by Andrea Chalupa, who is the person who introduced me to Yeonmi Park. And she's a Ukrainian, and she's very, very left. And I have a book signed by Walter Duranty. It's part of my book. I have a bunch of books signed by evil people, and that's one of them. You said you were poor without money. So are we. We talk about how much stronger we feel made it watching the adults struggle as we grew up. Yeah, my dad made good money, but he always said we never had any. And now I'm thinking he was just being not cheap, but like didn't having come to America and for the first time having any cash in his pocket. I can see the psychology of like, you know what, this kid doesn't need another action figure. Like, let's, it's going to have an effect on you psychologically. But the effect was the money, there was no possibility of not having food or, going without. Like, all the Maslow's hierarchy of needs were covered in many regards. But in terms of, like, it would, if I wanted something bought from me, it was pulling teeth. It was, so I very much had the impression that money was not available. In Quebec high school, we studied the 5-year plans with enthusiasm. I learned to sew as a kid so I could have a Batman costume without a picture of Batman on the front. Oh, that's so sweet. I really like that a lot. Thank you for existing. Spite fund the true altruism. Spite funding is the true altruism. Is it? Is it really? Well, I'm having a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding. There's a few guys I've taken under my wing, like younger dudes. It is very rewarding. Because I remember being young and being very isolated psychologically. So to be able to, I've heard this from several people that me or Dave Smith, we're their like one anarchist friend who makes them realize, oh, I'm not crazy. There's other people think like this. So if I can be that guy for someone, it's like I hate saying humbling, but it's like, oh shit. It's like I know what that means, and it's not something I take lightly. Check out this drawing a guy made from you. I want to? I really don't think I want to. I don't want to. I hate it when people draw me. I really hate it. Other than in American Splendor, it's I don't want to. Sorry. R. What country? What shithole country are you from? Does it say? Can I see? It doesn't say. Just five. Who uses? What's that search Google for? Oh, Brazil. The Real. Okay. I think I'm going to bounce. I will see you guys again shortly. Please do come join us on Locals. Locals has now become what I fantasized about, what Facebook should have been, which is a group of people, there's no drama, who share their lives and are supportive and are interesting and a little bit weird, and you're not going to have to deal with stupid people or headaches. It's free. You have to pay to comment or post, that's fine. Don't pay if you don't want to. Just come and join us and enjoy the stuff, and it's a fun place. I'm really glad I could have made it happen. It's really amazing to be in that position. Okay, I am going to bounce for sure. I will talk to you all soon, and you are all the best, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this candle.